discipline is the purest form of self-love. But why don't we provide the infrastructure for business to reward their consumers upfront?
Okay, let's talk about
I
this.
think the most difficult part in entrepreneurship is this resilience.
Like again, the bit where you sort of mentioned bounce back rate. I don't think this is sort of mentioned a lot.
The best thing is, and the most important, is to take care about your sleep.
What you mentioned there is just like a little bit shocking.
You would be surprised. A lot of startup founders, and including like the very advanced ones and sort of well known, it would be like the first thing for them.
Okay, I just want to say thank you so much for being here, Anya, really, because
Thanks for having me.
yeah, I remember speaking to you about starting a podcast sometime last year, and you were like, go for it, and I think a couple of months later, here we are. And
I see a lot of progress.
Yeah.
Kudos to you.
Walk me through a little bit about the vision of the startup that you're working for. It's Wise Pay.
What WisePay is, it is the alternative payment method, and it is a digital wallet that changes the way that businesses interact with their consumers, you may say, by allowing several options in terms of customers paying to the retail businesses they use, such as rewards, discounts, cashback, and other forms of digitizing the relationship with the customer that businesses may use while simultaneously benefiting themselves.
I think it's just really cool because, you know, from the merchant side, they would then receive these balance sheet and working capital benefits, right? And I think we were talking about this last time we were speaking as well. Could you like sort of share how that benefits both merchants and customers?
Sure. So, as you rightfully mentioned, we are B2B to C, multi-sided platform. So we work with both businesses, which we call merchants, and consumers, which we call users, on the app. So how we benefit the merchants is in a couple of ways. One of them is the cash advancement, advanced sales, and advanced cash flow, because of the prepayment function, prepayment at a discount function. Second, we increase customer loyalty, so the customers are more likely to come back to the retailer that digitize the rewards for them, and with whom they have sort of like their relationship via the app. And third, like we increase basically the frequency and the network effect of users purchasing goods and services via the app. Users referring their friends, users sending coins to the friends, and so on and so forth. And basically, the merchants on our platform are discoverable by the users on our platform who might not be their immediate consumers, and they might learn about the offers that this retailer provides on the app.
A lot of the times when I'm using all of these apps, yeah, I know that it sort of provides me with some value add, but there's just so much, and I feel like it's overwhelming because it doesn't really focus on one or two things. So how do you sort of, how do you identify a market gap and help create a product idea that makes sense?
Nice idea that the co-founders had is that if consumers know that they're going to spend this amount of money on average on the coffee, why don't we reward them? Or why don't we provide the infrastructure for business to reward their consumers upfront? So, because usually the reward system works in a way that please spend with us 9 times and the 10th you get for free. So until you get to this 10th, you're like already like, sometimes you're kind of even pushing yourself to get to the to get to this 9th. Sorry,
that is me all the time. Yeah.
So here, kind of to overcome this thing, the idea is just reward them upfront and digitize your relationship with them via the app, while also having the advanced cash flow.
You know, there's just so many new apps in the market lately. I feel like everyone is building apps. I don't know if it's just me, because there's just like apps are popping out of nowhere. It's just new apps here, new apps there. Is it difficult to build an app?
I guess the answer is always it depends.
Yeah.
I personally, I always admire that people come up with the idea and build something.
Yeah.
And in terms of is it easy or not, all great apps are based on great product and great underlying infrastructure beneath. So that's the core. And it might not be easy, and it might not be as straightforward, and it might take some time to actually get it right. Because it doesn't actually, well, I mean, it of course it does matter how much experience you have and how good is your tech knowledge. But some things you will only know that you either need this feature or you need the improvement of this feature while you get going. You cannot like forecast, thousands of feature issues, because some of them just come unexpectedly from the use cases or from like a particular circumstances in the use case. Good things require work.
Yeah, because I think I don't think there's that many people that study computer science or coding, right? It's like, where do these people sort of make these apps on? Like, I just want to know, does WisePay have people inside the team that sort of codes it, or do you guys do an external developer, which is also a lot of apps sort of do that, right?
For now, we do have external developers and two, let's say, technical people on our team,
Okay.
supervising them. Yeah, that's how it is in the moment.
You worked in the UN for a bit, and you work with World Trade Organization, and now you're a fintech entrepreneur. Could you just sort of share how? Because that's really interesting.
It got me in a little bit of a situation in the beginning when I wanted to pivot into a fintech, that people sort of, they would talk to me and they would say, "Wow, that's really cool, like your background, but like, what? Why are you switching, right?" So yeah, I mean, honestly, I was always a fan of my work. I never was running from it. I really was always enjoying my my job at various organizations. The thing is, at some point, I just thought that like I want to be part of this ecosystem of tech entrepreneurship, because they are building something interesting, and I think I can be good for it. So that's how I made this transition.
It's really cool because you also studied MBA from our last conversation. Correct me if I'm wrong. So I remember you telling me you studied MBA at LBS, which is like one of the most prestigious places to study MBA in.
Yeah. It was amazing journey. Yeah.
There's a lot of conversations lately, like, I'm not sure if you've heard of, what Elon Musk said and all of this said, that said. Would you think an MBA is worth it?
So I think it is definitely worth it if you want to like dramatically change your career direction or your geography. So having an MBA with a strong roots in particular geography obviously is a huge help. Learning new skills and getting to know new people and expand your network is of huge help. Is it absolutely necessary, especially for someone who is doing good at their job and they want to continue doing their job and just like continue growing in that particular job? Is it absolutely necessary? Well, probably not. So yeah, I don't think it's indispensable for everyone. It really depends what you want from your life at each particular moment, I would say.
You told me the last time we spoke, working in a startup is busy, you said. I remember that clearly. You were just like, a startup is not easy. Could you sort of, because I have an idea about that. Everyone sort of
life
talks
is
about
busy, startup is not easy. You can almost wrap there.
Yeah.
You have to have a lot of structure yourself in a startup, because no one will come and create it for you, because it's eventually like it's a new company, right? So you have to work it yourself. So you have to have a lot of discipline, and also manage a lot of tasks that come like sort of like a little bit multitasking and wearing different hats. So the tasks that come from different areas, and you have to gather them both. So like this is where the structure and discipline is very helpful, I would say. And I don't know. You have to know what gives you energy and ensure you replenish your energy because you require a lot.
How do you do that?
Honestly, the best thing, and I'm not gonna like make a huge discovery here. The best thing is, and the most important is to take care about your sleep. Take care of your sleep schedule.
This
If you
is
don't
so...
sleep well, it's very hard to be productive the next day. And once it's accumulated into many days of not sleeping well, then it's kind of getting harder and harder, well, at least for me. But I always was a person who loved to sleep. And then just do the things that provide you energy. I don't know if it's meeting with your friends, if it is doing sports, if it is cooking, whatever gives you energy, just try to do it more often. Because in general, all the tasks are, I think everything that we encounter in our everyday life either gives us energy or depletes us of energy. So it's just a math game of doing more what gives you energy and doing less of what depletes you.
There's a lot of, drilling on like the grind, right? Like work, sleep when. And then I think like what you mentioned there is just like a little bit shocking for me because like I think that's the last thing that, and I think I've been seeing a lot of articles lately as well, like on how important sleep is. I think
there's even a book about it. You would be surprised. A lot of startup founders, and including like the very advanced ones and sort of well known, it would be like the first thing for them. So like they do not sacrifice sleep. And I know it sounds counterintuitive because you're like, where do they sleep? They are so busy.
Yeah.
But it's always the matter of priorities. Like we all have 24 hours, and you have to kind of allocate your priorities in such a way that that those things that are your top priorities are getting attended.
That is so cool. And I think whenever I speak to you in general, you're young, you're determined, you're focused, and all that. Like
I'm also very sleepy now. Don't
No, but I also just want to know, like, how did you what do you think sort of like built that character in you? It's like you have such a. Whenever I speak with you, I just learn so much about like life philosophy, prioritization of what's important for you. I think like this is how it feels like to speak with you last time, like a couple of months ago, and you just don't change. You're just very determined. You give me so much inspiration.
Days and days, let's say. So none of us can go like at 100% every day. I don't think it's realistic. We all have days that we are more tired or like can concentrate less, and we have days that suddenly like woof, you're very efficient and very productive. So I think you have to just make the best of those days so that you can like when you feel that you need a little bit to slow down, you actually can afford slowing down because when you have this productive strain, you actually pushed through it. If you're not motivated about something, it's really hard to push yourself to do that. But sometimes you have to because again, some things just need to be done. We all had this task that we were postponing for months that only to find out that we can do it in like 10 minutes. And then you were like, oh my God, why was I postponing it for months?
Yeah,
and
I feel
stressed around it. I just sit and did it and like 10 minutes.
I feel like sometimes the stressing bit, the worrying bit, the anxiety bit of things is probably weighing more on you than the actually doing bit. If that makes sense. Like sometimes,
Totally.
I was just like, oh, I want to, like, when I was talking to you about the podcast, just like, oh, I want to build this one. It's just like, there's so much, what about this? And what about that? And when I wish I would have just put my energy into actually doing it because it's not really that hard.
Well, you seem to do amazing, so you're certainly doing it now.
I'm flattered.
Oh, my.
But also, like, when you were talking about, the startup life, like everything else, it's never easy path. There's always like peaks and troughs and all of that. How do you go through those troughs? Because I feel like when it's the peaks, it's sort of, who doesn't want to enjoy the peak,
exactly.
Right? Well, the troughs, like I feel not everyone's ready to or has the mentality to be able to go through a trough. What do you think is your mindset?
That's actually, I think, the most difficult part in entrepreneurship is this resilience. I mean, there are a lot of difficult parts building a product, building a team, and so on. Um, but eventually, I think that's what you said, like to persist and to be resilient, because there are going to be moments that it seems that things are not working as they should and stuff like that. And it's very easily to be discouraged. That is those who are not, or even allow yourself to be discouraged for some time, but then bounce back and continue what you were doing, or change the way you were doing. Right? Depends. So yeah, I would think there's just that resilience.
I think that's really interesting that you mentioned bounce back, because I feel like we're all human. We feel a certain way when things don't go our way, right? Like when things don't go the way we plan things to be. But I think what's really important, as you've said, is if you feel down, feel it. It's fine, but bounce back.
Yeah,
that
no,
bounce
of course.
back rate.
There's no point of not allowing yourself to feel down, because, like, you're not fooling anything, right?
Yeah.
Anyone, even if you appear on the outset not to feel down, you still feel down inside, just with the difference of not expressing it or even not acknowledging it to yourself. It just builds up. So why? Honestly, it's fine. Everyone gets upset.
Yeah, I feel like the way you
show
say
me
it.
the person who never gets upset. I want to talk to them. I definitely want.
That is a really good point. And I feel like you made it so it makes so much sense. People are all aiming to. Well, I'm not saying everyone is, but a lot of people now want to have startups. Everyone wants to sort of create something, and probably not just apps, but everyone wants to sort of leave their mark in the world at some way or another. What would you, from your experience, would you have anything to share with them? And
I think the first is the idea. Like, if you have to really be fond of your idea, it would require probably some work. Do the market checks and reality check, like whether you just like it or someone else can like it too. And second, honestly, resilience.
Resilience is such a, I think it probably is underrated.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah, because we're currently, I think, into this like accept yourself thing everywhere,
Yeah.
which is fair. It makes
self-love
sense. Yeah.
and all of that. Do you feel like resilience is okay? Let's talk about this. Would you think resilience is part of self-love, or would you think that's like
Honestly, there is the quote, which is one of my favorite quotes ever,
Okay.
which is. And I would need to Google who said it.
Okay,
I've
it's
unfortunately
fine.
forgot, but I absolutely love it. It says, discipline is the purest form of self-love.
wow?
And if you first look at it and you're like, what are you talking about? Eating an ice cream is self-love. Having a nap is self-love. What do you mean discipline is self-love?
Yeah.
But if you read it deeper, you understand that having the discipline to do the things that benefit you in long term is the purest form of self-love. And it is. And like, honestly, this quote says it everything.
I feel like when you mentioned that, it's like really, it was a reality check, right? Because like, I think it was related to, what is it called? Like, I forgot the term of it, like postponed gratification, like something like that, like doing the hard work so that you could enjoy it in a longer term basis, as opposed to just here and then. I think that's really cool.
Yeah. There are actually plenty of former professional sportsmen, sportspeople, sportsmen, sportswomen, who are successful business people, including successful entrepreneurs. Why do you think this is so? It's because they do have discipline. Because one thing that all professional sports people have is a discipline, right? Because they, if you aiming for Olympic Games, you have to have discipline, right? They train hard, they do special things, they do it like on a special schedule and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So these people are by default disciplined people, you know?
In this society now, and I'm not saying that it's wrong, especially like, yeah, sometimes you have to treat yourself and all that.
Of
But,
course.
yeah, I feel like now it's being like a little bit too much on the other spectrum. I feel like it's a spectrum, right? You have to know the balance.
Yeah.
But it is so nice meeting you. What's next for Anya? Do you have any plans ahead? Are you going to sort of keep focusing on the fintech?
I guess we'll see.
Yeah.
Honestly, yeah, I love to plan, but I also love spontaneity, I think. So I guess we'll see.
And I'm excited to see what's ahead for you. I'm really
And
so
same for
inspired.
you. Likewise.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Anya, for today. We'll keep in touch, I'm sure.
Yes, sure.
And
Thanks
yeah.
a lot, Michelle.
Thank you.
So
Thank
lovely
you,
chatting
Anya.
with you.